America is not a racist country.
Ladies and gentlemen, many of you probably been following what has been going on with Joe Rogan and also Whoopi Goldberg when it comes down to speech. One thing about speech in America, there are serious, serious double standards. And there is no doubt about it. If you are not willing to stand up, and I'm talking to my Black brothers and my Black sisters, if you are not willing to go that extra step and stand up and fight for your right to speak and express yourself, these folks will literally steamroll all over you. There's a consensus, and I even sensed this when I was young. They really seriously believe they can speak up, express themselves, no matter how much vitriol is behind their speech, and they got the right to say it. But when it comes down to us in the Black community, they believe we should be silenced. And see, no, see, you can't play both sides of the fence. You can't, in one instance, say you are free to speak and do whatever you want and express yourself wherever you want. But then when somebody that don't look like you have an opinion, you want to shut them down and get rid of them. That is largely the reasons why I went to court regarding YouTube, because I see this even to this very day. If certain Black YouTubers express themselves, they got to go. But you have them out here using the N word, because I've seen this with my two eyes. And y'all remember, I did a video on one that was out here talking about race war this and race war that. Those same people that want to come around the Black men and women talking about hate speech, they say absolutely nothing to people like that are out here talking about race wars and we got smaller brains and all this nonsense that they sit around saying. But see, that's okay to say. But if you have something that maybe not favorable to them, oh, you gotta go. Now, even the way this whole thing is unfolding, y'all, is loaded with racism and double standards. So let me give you an example. This is the CEO of Spotify. He recently came out and apologized over the Joe Rogan saga that's going on. Now, Joe Rogan is not somebody that I watched or followed. I heard his name from time to time on here, but nobody I ever concerned myself with or followed on YouTube or Spotify or anywhere for that matter. He's just not the kind of person I would follow or be attracted to anything that he says. But that's me. I'm not telling anybody not to listen to him. So he comes out, apologized to employees for Joe Rogan, but he says, and see, this is how you know Spotify is not closing the door on Joe Rogan. Don't believe that for one moment. He apologizes and then turns around and says he doesn't believe in silencing him. So by saying that, he is still leaving the door open for Joe Rogan to still be there. But you notice when it comes down to Whoopi Goldberg, you notice nobody from any of the networks are coming out and saying, I don't want to silence Whoopi Goldberg. Do you hear any of them coming forward and say, she she said what she said? I don't believe the door should be closed to her. She should be able to express herself. You notice they don't come out like that when it's one of us, but they're all over it when it's somebody that looks like them. Let me tell y'all something. When they try to use these double standards on you, you gotta go, but they can express themselves. Do you know how easy that is to beat in court? I'm telling, listen to me now. Do you know how easy that is to beat in court? It is very easy. It's easy because, see, you have in your constitution freedom of speech. There's no laws called hate speech. The courts can't enforce something that doesn't exist. Now, you can have policies. There's a big difference between a policy and a law. Trust me, it's not as hard as you think to beat it when they try to play these double standards on you. It's not as hard as you think. But no network is coming out and leaving the door open for Whoopi Goldberg. I've seen this so many times. I've seen this on jobs. I've seen this in school. I have seen this everywhere, these double standards. And they love playing these double standards. And the one that's telling you they believe in freedom of speech, that is the same person that believes in silencing a black person. They have no problem playing both sides of the fence. So it's a slippery slope. Trust me on this. So either we're going to all have freedom of speech or there's hate speech, and a lot of people got to go, including the ones that look like them. So which one is it? Joe Rogan, what he said is, please, I've heard those kind of things all throughout my life. I have. And trust me, there's plenty more out here just like him. These channels are all over YouTube and all over social media platforms. They're everywhere. That's why I don't let them come here and try to make it seem like what I'm saying is, oh, it's just so horrible. Oh, it's just so terrible. Oh, the horror. Get out of here with that crap. You're so fake. So he's still got this CEO that is cheering him on. When you say, hey, I don't want to silence him, then you're fine with him. Then what is your apology really worth when you throw that at the end of your apology? It's not much of an apology. In fact, I don't see that as an apology at all. So again, where are the networks or even on social media saying the same thing about Whoopi Goldberg? Okay. See, this is why they never have a good point when they come to us and say, oh, well, that guy was talking this, he had to be shut down. I don't pay attention to that. I don't. I don't. Regardless to whether they think what you're saying is hateful or not, take it to civil court. Let the courts decide if white people can say whatever they want and black people can't. See, no court is going to go along with that, because then that destroys the whole fabric of freedom of speech. But we know they will always play these little games. But it's up to you to shut it down. What are you willing to do to keep your speech free? Joe Rogan, what did he say that we haven't heard our whole lives? I mean, seriously, what did he say? And trust me, you will see him back before you see Whoopi Goldberg. They'll try to silence her and keep her shut out of the whole entertainment industry if they have to. Okay, they will. What happened to Paris Denard, y'all? Armstrong Williams. See, I remember a lot of them. Ron Christie. See, when they get rid of you, you ain't coming back into the industry. But you can best believe Joe Rogan is coming back. Make no mistake about it. He'll be back. That's why he's telling you he don't believe he should be silenced. He's already leaving the door open. He'll be back. See, what they're going to do is lay low for the next few months, maybe even a year, and then they'll slip them right back in. You know, it's that arrogant, oh, I've been punished enough. Can you imagine if we walked around saying that? Oh, well, we've been punished enough. That you know what they would have a field day with that. But we're supposed to listen to this arrogance and accept it. Oh, well, I've been punished enough. What more do you want? I've suffered enough. No, you haven't. Usually when people say that, they haven't. They haven't even suffered a fraction. Okay? They haven't. So let me go ahead and y'all can listen to this from the Wall Street Journal. And you can listen to what this CEO, Daniel Elk, I think his last name is, what he had to say. You know, in my opinion, it's not an apology at all.
Spotify CEO apologizes to employees for Joe Rogan, says he doesn't believe it's silencing him. Canceling voices is a slippery slope, Daniel X says after host's use of a racial slur in previous episodes sparked outcry. By Stephen Russolillo. February 7, 2022, 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Spotify Technology SA Chief Executive Daniel Ek apologized to employees for the way Joe Rogan's use of a racial slur in previous podcast episodes has impacted them, saying the situation leaves many of you feeling drained, frustrated, and unheard. He said in a letter shared with the Wall Street Journal by a company spokesman that he has no plans to remove the star podcaster from the streaming platform and committed to spending $100 million on music and audio content from what he called historically marginalized groups. There are no words I can say to adequately convey how deeply sorry I am for the way the Joe Rogan Experience controversy continues to impact each of you, Mr. X said to Spotify staffers on Sunday, referring to Mr. Rogan's podcast. Not only are some of Joe Rogan's comments incredibly hurtful, I want to make clear that they do not represent the values of this company. The Spotify executive's comments doubled down on his statements last week that Spotify is an open platform despite its exclusive deal to distribute Mr. Rogan's podcast, and that excluding Mr. Rogan isn't the right choice. Mr. X's letter follows Spotify's acknowledgement that it was delayed in addressing outcry sparked by rocker Neil Young over Mr. Rogan's shows about the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccines. Mr. X said in his letter that Mr. Rogan chose to remove some episodes from Spotify following discussions with the company and Mr. Rogan's own reflections. Tracking site YourMissing.com says 113 of Mr. Rogan's episodes have been taken off Spotify since Friday. Mr. Rogan apologized for the second time in a week on Saturday after a compilation video emerged showing how he and some of his guests used the N-word numerous times on his show. In a video on his Instagram account, Mr. Rogan said he offered my sincere and humble apologies for the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. He said the clips were taken out of context and that they were based on 12 years of conversations. He added that they look horrible even to me. The influence Mr. Rogan's show has and how much responsibility Spotify has for its content has generated significant attention in recent days. Several artists, including Mr. Young, Joni Mitchell, and Graham Nash, have said they want to remove their content from Spotify for what they deem as misinformation about the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccines spread by Mr. Rogan. Singer-songwriter India Ari said she pulled her music from the platform because she opposed the language Mr. Rogan used around race and the amount of money he makes from Spotify. She shared the compilation video of Mr. Rogan using a racial slur in numerous instances on his show, which sparked the latest outcry. While I strongly condemn what Joe has said and I agree with his decision to remove past episodes from our platform, I realize some will want more. And I want to make one point very clear. I do not believe that silencing Joe is the answer, Mr. X said. We should have clear lines around content and take action when they are crossed, but canceling voices is a slippery slope. Looking at the issue more broadly, it's critical thinking and open debate that powers real and necessary progress. Last week, Spotify publicized its content policies and created advisories for pandemic related shows that send listeners to an information hub about COVID 19. In 2020, Spotify paid $100 million, according to people familiar with the deal, to host the Joe Rogan Experience exclusively on its platform. The podcast has been critical to Spotify's growth and expansion beyond music streaming. Mr. Eck repeated in his letter to staffers that he wants the company to be the biggest audio platform in the world. Spotify's response comes as companies increasingly are being forced to address backlash stemming from content appearing on their platforms. Netflix Incorporated late last year responded to the outcry over a Dave Chappelle stand-up special that some employees said was offensive to the transgender community. At the time, Netflix co-chief executive and chief content officer Ted Sarandos issued a company-wide email defending the special and saying the service wouldn't pull it down. Mr. Sarandos said the company works hard to support creative freedom, and this means there will always be content on Netflix some people believe is harmful. He also said he didn't think the special incites hate or violence. The Joe Rogan Experience is the #1 show in 93 markets, Spotify has said. In 2021, Mr. Rogan's show was the most listened to podcast every month in more than 30 markets, including in the US, said a person familiar with the matter. Mr. Rogan's listeners have grown by 75% from the time he joined Spotify's platform in September 2020 to December 2021, the person said. Mr. X said that having an open platform was a core value of Spotify and that disputes were inevitable. Still, he said the company could do more to elevate creators from underrepresented communities and diverse backgrounds. News Corp's Dow Jones and Company, publisher of the Wall Street Journal, has a content partnership with Spotify's Gimlet Media unit. Write to Stephen Russolillo at stephen.russolillo@wsj.com.
Okay, y'all. Okay. So again, what I want to know is Black men and women that were on podcasts, Spotify being one of them. Have you been silenced? Because I know a couple of people that have. Have you been silenced? And if you did get silenced, you need to challenge Spotify on what they're doing with Joe Rogan, and then they're pitching you out for expressing yourself. So if you know of somebody or you yourself was on Spotify and you were bounced out because of your speech, let me know. Because see, now you got a leg to stand on if you want to challenge that. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.